weak ass clap segment. Much better.
Do it yourself next time. That was a weak ass clap,
My
Knick-Knack.
camera's not on screen.
No, I took it off. You didn't deserve it.
Rejoice, everyone. We're back with another Sekhie Reacts to Fate. This week, Manannan. So this is probably going to be one that Sekhie spends more time on than I do. So if y'all are looking for a Fate-heavy one, this is
Look away.
Look away. Run. Skip to later in the video.
Alas, poor Fate. We once knew them well.
So I guess without further ado, Sekhie, go off.
So today we're doing Manannan, which I was really excited about when I heard that he became a servant, because I'm really big into like Irish and Celtic and sort of Manx mythology, and that's something that I've looked into pretty heavily, as evidenced by our earlier videos on the Celts, like Cuan Scahach and Scotty, Fergus, Maeve, Fionn, and Diarmid. So for me, I probably could have done this video without any prep, but I did not want to do my boy Manannan dirty like that. This man deserves prep and work like that. So Manannan is the son of the sea, and he's a king of the otherworld in mythology, as well as a warrior, and is generally associated to be a sea god. His father is the sea god Lear, right? Who's kind of an even older sea deity in the mythology. He calls himself the foster son of the Dagda, and the Dagda are also important characters in Irish mythology. They tend to come up quite a lot, and we've talked about them before, but the Dagda is like a father figure and like a king, typically associated with being a druid, as well as fertility, agriculture, and things like that, generally depicted in a whole lot of different stories. The lover of the Morrigan, so by connecting Manannan to the Dagda, he calls himself the foster son of the Dagda, which, you know, depending on the mythology you're ascribing to and which versions, that would also make him the foster son of the trio, which makes...
Y'all good?
Yeah, I don't...
Take a sip of some Diet Dr. Pepper here. Give yourself a sip of that real quickly.
My brain. My mouth.
Your mouth words aren't working right now.
Mm-hmm. That's what I mean. My mouth words aren't working. So, by claiming himself to be foster son of the Dagda, that also, technically by proxy, depending on the myth, makes him foster child of the Morrigan, who is one of my favorite deities in Irish mythology. I'm sure Knick-Knack has heard of the Morrigan.
Yep. I remember that. Came up a lot in the Coo video.
It really did, because the Morrigan took perch on Coo Cullen's shoulder as he lashed himself to the standing stone so that he did not die on his knees.
It's also come up in Fate a couple times.
Yep. So, Manannan is present in pretty much all of the major epics of Irish and mythology of that area of the world. Notably, he is present in the Tyne Bow, which is the cattle raid of Cooley, and that's the story that Cú Chulainn is from. In this one, his wife is the goddess Fand, who is called the Fairy Queen in later works. And her name also can mean like Pearl of Beauty or Tear, surprisingly. So she is a woman in Irish mythology who appears in the cattle raid of Cooley in the Ulster cycle as the daughter of Ead Abrat and sister of Liban and the wife of Manannan. She takes the form of a seabird, flying with a flock of enchanted birds, each pair joined by a silver chain. She flies with her sister Liban, and the two of them are connected by a gold chain which makes them stand out. Cú Chulainn hurls stones at these seabirds, one of which passes through Fand's wing feathers. And that's not great. Later, she and her sister return in the form of women to confront him on the shore of the lake and then beat him with horse whips until he lies abed for a year, unable to get out of bed.
No, they killed Lancer.
No, they beat him until he couldn't get up. Eventually, he's allowed to regain his health through her favor after his charioteer negotiates with her, and he agrees to travel to her island and help her battle against her foes. Technically, then they become lovers in the T.H.E Bow, but it does not last because Cuchulainn's wife Emer is very jealous, and she comes to attack them. And so when Fan sees that Emer is worthy of Cuchulainn and upset by their affair, she chooses to leave him, chanting a poem and then returning to her husband Manannan, who shakes his magical cloak of mist between the two of them so that they may never meet again. Unfortunately, though, then Cuchulainn and Emer drink Fortunately, then, Cuchulainn and Emer drink a draught of forgetfulness provided to them by the druids, which allows them to kind of forget about this whole issue. When we're talking about the family of Manannan Maclir, so somebody important in mythology, right, is that, so it's said that one of his daughters is Niam, or Neve, right? It's spelled Niam, but pronounced Neve. And that is Neve the golden-haired, who becomes the spouse of Wasin, the son of Fionn Macumail in the Fianna cycle. And some people think that this woman, Neve, is also the daughter of Fand, but that's not confirmed. We know most sources say that she's the daughter of Manannan Maclir. She may also be the daughter of Fand, but we do not know that. And she fell in love with this man, Oisin, who was the son of Fionn Macumail, and he took her away with him to live in Tir na Nog, the land of the ever-young. They had several children, and after 300 years, she reluctantly allowed her husband to visit Ireland, but told him that he could not touch the ground there. Because once he did, he would regain all the years on his body that he had not passed in Tir na Nog and would be unable to see her ever again. And that's one of the big stories we have of kind of Tir na Nog and the effects that it can have on the people who go there. Once you go to Tir na Nog, you're not supposed to be allowed to leave, because when you step foot back onto mortal lands, you'll regain all the years that have passed since you've been on Tir na Nog. It's kind of similar to the fairy circles in mythology in the British Isles, where you can be taken down into the fairy circle and centuries will pass without your knowledge because time runs differently in these otherworld places. And so this is an example of where you would come back, and it would actually be very harmful for you to come back. However, this is not the only source about his wife. So there is a different goddess ascribed to be his wife in some other stories, and that's Aina, the Irish goddess of summer, wealth, and sovereignty. She's associated with the sun and often with a red horse, and is the daughter of Agabel and the sister of Eilen or Fennan, and multiple Irish families claim her as a major ancestor. Another character in Irish mythology that just... Another woman in Irish mythology that's generally considered to be either his descendant or in some relation to him is Cleodna, or Cleodna, and that is the queen of the Banshees and another member of the Tuatha De Danann. So she's the queen that rules over the Sheadhog, the fairy women of the hills, and is also sometimes associated with love and beauty. She's said to be represented by 3 colored birds who ate apples from a special otherworld tree, and their sweet song can heal the sick. And she leaves the island of Tir Tairngir, the land of promise, to be with her mortal lover, Shaban, but is taken by a wave. And then is taken by a wave as she sleeps due to the music played by a minstrel who is working for Manannan Maclir in County Cork. The tide becomes known as Cleodna's wave, and whether or not she drowns depends on the version of the story. We've talked about banshees before. You know? I think when we talked about Cathpalug, maybe?
Did we?
I don't know. I feel like I've brought them up before. But
I don't know what we have, but nothing on my end, but they might have come up.
Maybe. But essentially they're these otherworldly female spirits who are known to wail when death approaches, and it's considered, depending on where you're from, it's either bad or good luck to hear them because it typically signifies that death has happened or will be happening soon. And there's this superstition that each family kind of has their own banshees, and those banshees will come when it's time for someone to die or when someone has died and notify the family by their wailing and screaming.
Nifty.
Yeah. So I've mentioned a few times Tir na Nog. Tir na Nog is the land of the ever young, and it is one of the names for part of the otherworld in Celtic mythology, best known from the tale of Oisin and Niam. It doesn't have a ton more to do with Manannan MacLír, but I thought it was important to kind of go over because I've mentioned it several times when talking about people associated with Manannan MacLír. So there are a few other people associated with Manannan MacLír in myth. He's given a few sons depending on the story you're telling, like Decdond Mór and Gaidjar. And he's got another daughter, according to some oral legends, Saint Athrachta. And the story that goes with that is that she tried to build a causeway across Lugara by carrying stones in her petticoat, but was stopped by obeying sort of modesty rules. And in some legends, it said that she lives at the bottom of Lugara and only comes out every 7 years to visit her sister. In another tale, the Voyage of Bran, so the cycle that's telling about the prophesied hero Bran, Manannan gave a prophecy to him saying that a great warrior would be descended from him. And there's a person in history, Fiach Mac Beitan, from around the 620s, who was a high king at the time of Dal Naraidi and Ulaid. And his line claims descendancy from Manannan MacLír via this line of Bran. Right? A lot of people claim descendancy from Manannan MacLír, typically, high-ranking families who kind of portrayed themselves as having these great heroes and kings. He's also associated to be a foster father of several other important deities like Lugh. And I don't know if we've talked about Lugh before, but Lugh is another member of the Tuatha De Danann, which I'm going to cover briefly next. And he is a warrior and a master craftsman and a king. And in general, he's associated with a couple very specific stories, but he's the descendant of several major characters, and his son is Cuchulainn.
That's probably where the name came up then.
Yeah. He also has a famous hound named Phylinus, and it's said that he invented ball games and horse racing. So the Tuatha De Danann, also known as the Tuatha De, are essentially a supernatural race of deities in pre-Christian Gaelic Ireland. Often it's made up of like kings, queens, warriors, heroes, healers, craftsmen, druids, bards, these normal people per se that have supernatural and deity-like abilities. They live in the otherworld but tend to interact with humans in the human world quite often. They've been associated in mythology with the T.H.E, the burial mounds, and so burial mounds are often known as entrances to the otherworld where they live. They have traditional sort of mythical rivals called the Fomorians, who represent the destructive powers of nature. And some of the most prominent members of the Tuatha include the Dagda, the Morrigan, Lugh, Nuada, Agnes, Brigid, Manannan, Diancecht, and Goibnu. And then there's several of these Tuatha are actually cognated with ancient Celtic deities from other areas. So Lugh is cognated with Lugus and so on. And Manannan himself is cognated with the... Oh god, it's the name... I'm gonna try So he's cognate with the Welsh figure Manannan Fablier, and I'm certain I'm pronouncing that wrong because I do not speak Welsh. And unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of good places online to look up Welsh pronunciation. But yeah, so he is cognated with a similar figure from another mythology. He's also known as a couple different things depending on what myths you're reading. So he's also called Orbson, like the merchant Orbson, or Duartain o Duartain, and Cathal O'Kane, which are some of his other main eponyms. So some of the more famous things about Manannan in mythology are that it's said that he rode his chariot across the sea, meeting Bran, the great hero, and his crew, who were sailing by ship in the Voyage of Bran, which is one of the earliest mentions of him. In this story, he told Bran that the sea was not water, but that the sea is a plane of feats to him. So it's something to cross and conquer and be inside of. He says to Bran in the story that he's going to Ireland to have relations with Caintigern, who would go on to bear the character Monaghan, right? And the character Monaghan is actually an Irish prince that is recorded in the Cycles of Kings and the Yellow Book of Lacan from the 620s. So he is the Lord and the Guardian of the Blessed Isles, Emhain Ablach, Magmel, and the Isle of the Apple Trees. Of these, Emhain Ablach is interesting. So this is the island of the apples, and it is a mythical paradise that is typically identified with either the Isle of Man or Isle of Arran. So look, apples in mythology. I'm sorry, what?
Let's not go down this road again.
I got so mad about that. I got so mad. So remember when we talked about King Arthur?
Yes.
So Joffrey of Monmouth, he wrote about an island paradise called Insula Avalonus, right? Which is the Isle of Avalon. This is where he said that the sword Caliburnus, or Excalibur, was forged, and where King Arthur was taken to be healed by Morgan and her 8 sisters after the Battle of Camlan. So a lot of historians think that this account by Joffrey of Monmouth was based on the Irish legends of Emhain Ablach. And they say that the medieval Welsh equivalent of Avalon, Innis Aflach, may also be related to Emhain Ablach, which is why it's an interesting thing to be associated with Manannan MacLear. I don't know if Fate does anything with that, but I would think it was interesting, and I would do something with it.
Chances are Fate just says they're both on the reverse side of the world, because that's just kind of that's like all the mystical places are in that same sort of other side of the world kind of thing.
Yeah,
so they're in the
other
same
world. Yeah.
Like Skahawk's Land of Shadows is back there as well.
Yeah. Well, because these are... That's the thing, is that the kind of Celto-Irish otherworld is not one specific location. It is a bunch of different islands and places, all kind of ruled and looked over by different people. Mm-hmm. And depending on where you enter it or how you're entering it, you will end up in a different place. So it actually makes sense that there would be sort of... Because that's why Tir na Nog and Emhain Ablach both exist in the otherworld, but they're 2 separate places, right?
Fate does try to rectify that a little bit by saying that a lot of these places were original. Like, Land of Shadows was originally actually on our side of the world. Mm-hmm. It's just that over time it shifted there. So if there are stories about someone traveling directly there by foot, it's because at one point it was there.
Okay. Well, I had mentioned Manannan MacLear's Cloak of Mist before, because I think this is important, but it's called the Feth Fiada, and it is a magical veil or mist which the members of the T.H.E de Danann can enshroud themselves with to render themselves invisible to human eyesight. Typically, the T.H.E de Danann will use it to cloak themselves and their movements. So even though they're involved with the goings-on of the human realm, they're not always seen in this case. Fate better do something with that. I'm mostly joking. um, so after the Tuatha De Danann were defeated by Ahriman of the Milesians, or the humans in mythology, Bod Derg was chosen as the king, the new king of the Tuatha De, and Manannan was chosen as either the overseer of the king or like a co-king sort of situation, where he has powers to kind of contradict, right? So there's like a two-party system. And one of the things that Manannan was tasked with was allotting the T.H.E, the fairy mounds, to the surviving members of the Tuatha De Danann, right? So he's the one who says, okay, so this fairy mound is yours, and the place that the people go to when they go through it is the place that you rule. So he had Emen Ablach, right? And he would kind of allotted the others to other deities. So this is where you might get like the different islands and such. Manannan was also entrusted with ensuring the welfare of the Tuatha De by concealing by hiding them in the Faith Fiada and holding the feast of Goibnu, which conferred eternal youth, and feeding them Manannan swine, which gave them an inexhaustible supply of food. So he's essentially tasked with kind of overseeing this entire group of peoples, ensuring that their welfare is prepared and that they all have places that belong to them. In the Ecthra Cormac, he had two magical items that he gave away to the High King of Tara: a silver branch with apples made of gold and the Goblet of Truth. Both of which were attributed to him, but then given over to a famous hero in mythology. What?
Nothing. I'm just having angry Albus Dumbledore flashbacks.
Why?
Did you put your name into the Goblet of Fire?
Goblet of Truth. Jesus. He also made gifts of other magical items to other characters throughout mythology. He kind of, he owns a lot of things, and he tends to give them away or loan them out to people who needs them. So he has a self-navigating boat called the Wave Sweeper, and a horse that was able to travel over land or sea called Ahnbar of Manannan, or also Enbar of the Flowing Mane. These were both given on loan to Lug, but the sons of Turian managed to borrow the boat from Lug after that. He also gave Lug armor and weapons when the Tuatha De gathered to battle against the Fomorians, and Lug would ride his steed Aunbar, and was also allowed to use Manannan's sword Fragarach during this. Because then the fun thing about Fragarach, also known as the Retaliator or the Answerer, is that any wounds given to someone by Fragarach would prove fatal. And its opponent was and their opponent, whoever was hit by it, would be reduced to the weakness of a woman during childbirth. Which,
that's oddly specific.
Well, I also, maybe this is me being a little bit of a bitch, but I have seen men put on those fucking childbirth simulators and like absolutely fall to pieces. Right? This, like, a woman in childbirth is not necessarily a weak thing. I just thought I'd maybe mention that. So Fragarach was actually originally the sword of Nuada, who was the first High King of the Tuatha De, and it was forged by the gods and meant to be wielded only by those who were above the Stone of Destiny. However, Nuada lost his arm in the Battle of Meg Turid and was no longer suitable to be High King, so he would choose Lug as the provisional king. And using a spear and sling given to him by Manannan MacLear in this story, Lug defeated the Fomorians and their king Baelor, and during this battle, Nuada gave Lug his sword as a symbol of the king. It's said that any time that someone had Fragarach at their throat, they could not move nor tell a lie, and it also gave the wielder the use of the wind and was able to cut through any shield or wall, inflicting wounds from which no man could recover. Lug was also given Manannan's helmet, Cathbar, which was another kind of piece of specific equipment. It's interesting because in mythology, Manannan generally just acts as a person who's able to sort of hand things out to people who need them, right? Like a lot T.H.E to specific Tuatha De to give like his horse to people, or his self-propelling boat to people, or to pass on weapons and armor. He's sort of like the party pack horse in a D&D game who kind of just has all of the items but hands them out on demand or as needed.
The porcupine.
Yes, the porcupine. He was also the owner of the Crane Bag of Treasures. What?
Just the name.
So the story of this is that Manannan was sent a woman who transformed into the shape of the crane. This woman was Aoife, daughter of Dialbauth. And when Aoife died, Manannan crafted her crane skin into a magical treasure bag whose contents were only visible when flooded during the full tide. The bag was once again in the possession of Lug and taken by Lug's killers, the three sons of Kermait. Later, Manannan endowed it to Conair Mór, the High King of Tara.
So what I'm getting here is that Manannan is Lug's dealer.
Yes. It eventually came to be owned by Cumail mac Trenmhor during the Macnarmatha Finn. So he also commissioned the craftsman Lucra, or Lukta, to make a shield made of wood that would be passed to Finn, and became known as the Shield of Fionn. The wood came from a hazel tree that was the fork on which Lug had set the severed head of Baelor, the king of the Fomorians. The venom of Baelor had penetrated the tree, killing or blinding workers trying to uproot it. Manannan has also been identified with trickster figures throughout mythology, and he's got an inexhaustible swine and a speckled cow taken from India. Like that, this dude is everywhere, which is that's one of the reasons why he's so interesting, because he's kind of all over Celtic and Irish mythology in particular. There are specific tales about him from basically every single part of Ireland. And it's said that he was also known by the name Merchant Orbson in some places. And he would engage in battle and such under that name. And so it's almost impossible to recount every single myth that involves him, because every county has their own sort of myths and tales involving him, because he's so common.
Well, I'd imagine it's like trying to recount every myth that ever has involved Zeus.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's very similar. Yeah. But I do think he is, in general, just a very interesting figure in mythology, because he's not necessarily always the main force driving a story, but he always shows up in some way or another to provide something, or to give a hint, or to kind of participate in the ending of a tale, or he is in some way related to what begins the tale. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. Which is why right now he's going to give you a hint for the next Sekhie react. I'm kidding. Or not. I don't know. It's the editor Sekhie can decide.
Alright, so that's kind of the important stuff about Manannan mac Lir and Fragarak, which were the two names you gave me, and then I added on his horse and his boat. And
no, I appreciate you adding that stuff on. That stuff's actually going to be more important than you think.
Oh, good. I do love it when fate actually pays attention.
But first, if you want to, we can go ahead. I guess, do you want to take a guess at the class? And also, I also want to make sure you remember the important detail when we're discussing gods and fate.
Oh, yeah, because gods aren't gods. They're fucked up and weird.
Well, they're not servants. They are gods, but they're not usually summonable.
I'm torn between maybe, like, ruler and saber.
Okay.
I mean, per se. I don't necessarily know for sure, but, like...
If you want to click into the next tab, it's actually an alter ego.
Okay.
So you can look through the designs if you'll want in the FGO tab up there, but I do have to go over what's going on with this.
Not here? There?
No, we're coming back to that in a second.
Okay, alright. I can kind of see the Celtic inspiration here. I really do, because the Celts have a very particular look to kind of all of the servants.
Yeah.
Or like, I mean, with the exception of a few of them, you know, Maeve and Fergus don't necessarily fit the mold.
But a lot of them have like
but
these bodysuit things going.
these which someone told me in the comments the other day was actually the equivalent of body paint, and so Koo is just letting it all hang out there in blue paint.
It was literally trying to censor the Celts because they can't have them go full nude the entire visual novel.
Yeah, which I mean, yeah.
But also they're cowards for not having Koo go nude at any point in the visual novel.
Oh, I didn't look at stage 4. Okay.
I also didn't look at the sprites.
That's true. I do like stage 2 the best, though. I will say that. Oh. Okay.
So, go to the second tab there, the second Type Moon tab. We have to talk about Bazette.
Yep, which I have heard of Bazette.
You've seen her in one of the Carnival Phantasm
I know.
episodes. So, this is Bazette Fraga McRemitz. I don't always know what these fate names. She is the main character of Fate Stay Night's sequel, Fate Hollow Ataraxia. She's a descendant from a powerful mage family that dates back to the Age of Gods. Mm-hmm. And she's kind of a background character in the original Fate Stay Night. Mm-hmm. See, she was actually the original master of Koo before T.H.E killed her and stole him. She is a huge, and I mean huge, Koo simp. She had entered... So, her entire reason for entering the Grail War was for the sole purpose of summoning him, as she idolized his story since childhood. Someone in the comments knew that you would immediately feel that kinship.
Also, like I said, you said her family dates back to a line alive from the Age of the Heroes. Like I said, Manannan MacLear is generally regarded as the father or grandfather of a shit ton of famous lines of like kings and characters in Irish and Manx mythology.
This is going to be very important. It's going to come up again, trust me. So, her entire reason for entering the Holy Grail War, besides just meeting Koo, was she also wanted to use the wish from the Grail to change the ending of his story to give him a happy ending.
Yes! I love you, Bazette.
Unfortunately...
You and me, we are united.
Unfortunately, she was on good terms with T.H.E, as the two were old work friends when they were both, for the Mage Association in the church, hunting rogue mages.
More reasons to hate T.H.E.
T.H.E on behalf... So, of course, T.H.E betrays her, and Koo got the literal worst man in the world as his master due to a betrayal. And she was left for dead, and in Fate Stay Night was assumed to have passed away alone. In Hollow Ataraxia, she wakes up believing she is still in the Grail War, with no memories of her murder. She has not been... Though she didn't summon Koo, instead she seems to have managed to summon an Avenger servant. But she keeps dying, and on the fourth day... Or she keeps dying on the fourth day of the war and resetting back to the first day. Come to find out, the Avenger servant is Ungra Mayu, and that, the thing that gave the Grail indigestion. And that's what's been keeping her alive in a simulated time loop the entire time. Thus, the Hollow Ataraxia fake sense of peace.
She's wearing Koo's earrings in Carnival Phantasm.
Yes.
I, too, want to be wearing Koo's earrings. She's wearing Koo's earrings a lot. I love this. We're for... Yes.
So... Ultimately, after being with Ungra Mayu as his master for long enough, the two help form a bond, and he has a change of heart, and they manage to get Bazette out of the time loop, parting ways with her allowed to live the rest of her life. Bazette is notably an extremely rare human wielder of a noble phantasm.
God bless.
She actually has the sword Fragarach. It in Fate is a powerful noble phantasm that is so this one's a recreation of the original sword by the same name, maintaining most of its properties. For her, it acts as effectively a counterattack that is deployed she deploys it, and when it's deployed, it increases in strength the stronger the attack made against its wielders.
Okay. You two are having trouble talking.
A little bit, starting with my words, trying my best not to yawn in the middle of a sentence.
I'm sorry I bored you.
No, I'm just tired. The last thing I'll note about her is that she is often portrayed as friends, or at least having a good relationship with T.H.E's daughter, Karen, who you might remember as a Moors host.
Yes.
Right, we can go back to Manannan if you want.
I don't know, I'm kind of a fan of Bazette now. I'm a Bazette fan. Officially.
So, yeah, all of that predates the introduction of Manannan to FGO, so it kind of makes sense why taking Manannan's sword and applying it to someone they use Bazette as the host with that. Manannan and Bazette have effectively split custody over her body when in this form. Bazette takes control most of the time, but Manannan will occasionally take the lead as well. Manannan is relatively good-natured, but holds a distinct disgust at adultery.
Yeah, that would make sense.
And he is summoned... I mentioned Manannan is summoned as an alter ego.
Mm-hmm. Hey, look, Fand and Cuchulainn.
Mm-hmm. You might want to scroll through the relationships here.
Oh,
They're
I'm
pretty
absolutely going to scroll through the fucking relationships. What do you think I was going to do? Of course I am.
Who do I think?
Look, Manannan likes to gift people and make them feel welcomed. I love this. What's with that look? If you want to say something to me, then say it, Lancer. The god Amor, the god of love themselves, is there? We servants may be forbidden from fighting one another, but I have to do it. I have to counter that bazooka with Fragarak. Also, stop calling me Bazenan. It feels like someone's behind me. I don't sense any animosity, and it feels like they're watching over me. It also feels as nostalgic as a clock's tick to me. What made me link these two things together, I wonder. That's Angramayu. Right. That's the Queen of Dun Scythe, Skahak. Do you think I could get a personal training session from her? Man, why is she just me? The hero from the Mahabharata is Santa and a boxer? That info has sent me for a spin, but it would be my honor to spar with you as a fellow warrior. Now come! Kaikeon is the perfectly nutritious meal, but it is one serving really all you need? Not that I'm dissatisfied with the amount, but maybe it's lacking that kapow that's left me feeling unsatisfied? I'll say it. There are a lot of dangerous magi here in Chaldea. I'll let water go into the bridge for now, but should the need arise for me, I'll be there in an instant. And that's in response to, like, Giles de Rais, Zhang Jue, Paracelsus von Hohenheim, Changong, Avisa Braun, Mephistopheles. Paracelsus von Hohenheim, that's the servant that I pulled that I couldn't remember. I saw his name, but I didn't see his design. All right. So those were Bazette's relationships.
Yes.
Now we're on to Manannan MacLear's relationships. Well, Cuchulainn, is there anything you want? I'll give you anything you want, except for my wife. Ha ha ha, black joke. Love is a wonderful thing. It's all about supporting one another. Don't you agree? Fergus McRoy, stop messing around with married couples. Yes, Maeve, I see you glaring at me. I feel like there's some kind of connection between you and Cuchulainn, and it pisses me off? Yes, as a matter of fact, I'm curious about that too. It has nothing to do with the incident with my wife. Perhaps maybe there's something trapped between him and Bazette. I cannot say I remember her saying anything about him. Alright then, let's schedule a girls-only chat and see what we can learn. Good day to you, Diarmid Uaddubn. How confident are you with that lance? Just so you know, even if it was just once, stealing someone's partner isn't a good idea. The Helm of Hidden Infidelity. I think it's a fine magic tool, but the name isn't very good. No, not good at all.
So all that going back to the coup sleeping with his
Ymir.
Yeah.
All right, Fond. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm loving it.
So Manannan fights with a combination of unarmed melee strikes in Fragorok, which either Manannan or Bazette, depending on who's in control, can create multiple at will. Manannan specifically can also call on like 3/4 of Diarmid's noble phantasms, having access to pretty much any noble phantasm Manannan has ever owned, because he's given out a lot of stuff over the years.
Also, I'm loving this description of Fragorach and the Mount Enbar.
Yeah.
The head of a metal warhammer that can be dropped or punched from above, project 3 short blades like a spinning projectile, or act like a buzzsaw with multiple. Like, that's pretty fucking cool. You know what it reminds me of? You should totally equip the chainsaw earring, acid fighting, fireball firing earrings with drink dispensers and cup holders. Manannan claims that Fragorok is a concept, so it lacks definitive form. Okay. Alright. So, magic resistance, riding, divinity. What class?
Alter ego.
I forgot that was a class, sorry.
It doesn't come up much. I don't really know what's going on alter ego wise here.
Okay, so sealing, designation, enforcer.
So that was Bazette's job as at the Mages Association.
Rune of the Sea God. That's Manannan's. Succession of the Red Branch. I mentioned the Red Branch. Yeah. So, noble phantasms are Fragorok and Fragorok Enbar.
Yes, so...
But also he can summon the Gaebweed and Moraltag and Bialtag.
Yep, that's just grabbing all of any noble phantasm he's ever given out to people, basically.
Nice.
So, for Fragorok, this is the normal means Bazette uses Fragorok, just using it as a counterattack that when activated increases in power, the stronger the attack that tries to strike Bazette is. For Fragarok Enbar, this is both a sword and a concept. So one thing Manannan uses it to do is endow the concept to his horse, Enbar. Enbar can still function as Fragarok, becoming much... And it actually powers up the Fragarok part of the attack.
Oh, the character designer's only done just Manannan Maclear and Fate Grand Order. Interesting. All right, so you've got...
So this is Bazette and Unlimited Codes.
Okay. Yeah, beat the shit out of MEI. Oh, I forgot to...
I told you it was quiet.
Yeah. Beat the shit out of MEI. Love it.
And this is Bazette and FGO.
Okay.
The Noble Phantasm's a little weird. It's not one straight attack.
Oh, there's this sword coming out of nowhere. Well, not nowhere, but...
Yeah, it's not a straight attack.
Yeah.
So you're not going to see the NP itself use those two hits.
Yeah. It's a reaction, basically.
Yeah. There will be a different version of it too once we get to the Manannan.
And bar. Okay, I like Form 3. I love her.
I figured you would.
I love her. I love her so much. She is my favorite. Not technically non-Celt, but Celt. I love her so much. Bazette is awesome. All right.
I think she actually is Celtic. Like, she's not Japanese.
I would assume so, by the Mick rates. But yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, look at her little baseball. So cute. I love her. Oh. Hell yeah.
Yeah, pretty much everyone in the comments predicted that you would really like this.
Well, I'm
character.
gonna be honest. She's a big coup simp, and when she doesn't have a sword, she'll go fists in. Like, I get it, man. It makes sense. My brain is like, hell yeah, this one. This is the one.
Unfortunately, as of now, the only animated version of her is in the Lolly series, and it's got to sit through a lot of bullshit if you ever wanted to see that fight.
So I assume the golden eyes is when
Manannan's in control
is taken. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, foot pick. Hey, don't knock it. All right. I was looking at these in the other tab, but they look really cool. I like her dress. Oh, there's the sword. Oh, look at you can see the different
variations of it.
Oh. Tasteful. I approve. Oh, all of the Celts. Okay.
Are there any in here we don't know yet?
No. We know every single one of these characters. No. Everyone here we know.
Oh my god, Miniku is in there.
I know! He's so cute. Hey, even the puppies. Even the puppies are in here. I love them all. See, there's even Skahak Skadi hanging up at the back. I love this.
Just gonna save that.
Yeah, we're just gonna save that image. That may be one of my new wallpapers. We'll see. We'll see.
So she has a lot more than you normally would see with a servant that's about as new as she is, because of the Bazette connection.
Ah, okay. So sealing designation enforcer. The beginning has passed. With fists of iron, protect the laws of the world of magecraft and guarded its most secret treasures. And she's wearing the coup earrings. Sweet days.
So now you know who that is. So I think I even said that was Bazette when we
Yeah.
first did that. But yeah, Bazette and Karen.
Yeah. Adding bitter stimulation to a hollow night, even if the endless cycle of days does not include Valentine's Day, there may have been a day like this at least once. May there be presents even for the Iron Woman in a suit and the saintly woman of the Silver Front. Paradox Ace Killer. Feel free to use your trump card. The battle is sure to end the instant you do. The seal designation enforcer once went out to collect a certain set of cards. For those unaware, her special armament will surely lead them to a deathly fate.
So this is a reference to the Loli anime.
Oh, okay. Right.
Sorry.
Enbar! It's Enbar. The legendary white horse owned by Manannan MacLear, said to have been able to run on both land and water. It is sometimes seen pulling a chariot too. As Manannan is the god of the sea, this white horse is thought to represent the white foam created by the billowing waters. The white horse used by the goddess like me, is it? Truly a noble phantasm rank concept. Well, as a mage, I can also ride a horse more or less. Depends on the situation. There are times a horse is more useful than a car or a bike when chasing a target designated for sealing. Even so, a white horse makes me think of a prince and a princess riding together on it. It's a bit too romantic, or perhaps too girlish, would be more apt. No, I don't mean to belittle it, rather I'm just a little embarrassed. And it's not like I won't have someone in the future. Yes, what do I want in a partner? I want a warrior who is brave, knowledgeable, wise, able to lead, loved by everyone, not to mention be my equal. Despite all that, they must not be haughty. Why are you leaving? Too excessive? A castle in the air? No, that person exists. They definitely do. I just haven't met them yet, that's all. Aww.
I wonder if she was talking about Ku.
He's perfect. Shut up. Manannan style sweets for Valentine's Day. They are original Japanese desserts with red bean paste filling. The outside was made from delicious rice acquired from Tawara Tota, which was then steamed, jabbed, straight up punched, hooked, upward, front kicked, knee stroked, roundhouse kicked, fragaracked, per the recipe until the rice grains lost their shapes. She proudly revealed that the secret ingredient is to add a screw move at the moment of impact. Speaking of, I was out at the Asian store that we like to go to, the food store, and I picked up, like, I saw donuts in the case, so I was like, oh, I want one of each donut, right? And one of them was like this big twist donut, right? It was just mochi.
It was a mochi donut.
No. Like the actual, the mochi on the outside, none of the mochi, but like literally mochi deep fried. Not a mochi donut. Mochi. Like white and sticky and gooey on the inside. Not cake-like at all. No, because mochi donuts are closer to cake than they are mochi. They have like that added stuff to give them the kind of like rise and puff. This donut weighed like half a pound. It was straight mochi. And they also had a circle donut, right? And so like a little ball. And I picked up that one. It was so heavy. I bit into it. Once again, straight up deep fried mochi with a chunk of red bean paste filling. Like, because I've had mochi donuts, right? This was not a mochi donut. This was mochi fried. It was so dense. I mean, it was delicious, don't get me wrong, but like, holy shit. Paradise of Flowers. A false dream that continues to go around the paradise of innocence. The clumsy mage who has been refusing to wake up and let her daily life shatters comes to a stop. Now that she has become the last audience, she turns her back on the exit. Oh, she looks so sad. Poor thing. Fist of Hail.
Someone about to die.
Even though we were enthusiastic about the field survey, the sun blazing down on the endless stretching icebergs and the nothingness just makes the search difficult. Still, don't you worry. Whatever happens, I will protect you with my fist, master. I appreciate that. Oh. Oh. Okay. Heroic Spirit event attire.
It's one of the event ones.
Yeah.
So.
The setting of the craft essence is Carnival of Venice. I was going to say, it looked very European, and that does look like Venice. Interesting. I know it doesn't say anything specific in the event CEs, so... But I really like it. I think it's really pretty. I love Bizette. Bizette is great.
Everyone in the comments called it. Literally everybody.
When?
A while back, people were talking about the potential of Bizette being done.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, when Manannan was added to... When we added Manannan MacLear to the list, and I was like,
Yeah.
I want to do Manannan.
So, yeah.
I love her.
That's all. I guess we do owe them a hint, unless we put another hint in that one Manannan section.
I actually do have a hint for the next one. Hold on, let me pull it up. So I've got, this time we'll go with a little bit of a history hint for the next one, so. Everyone said that no man now living or ever after would be born who would be equal to him in all strength, courage, and in all sorts of courtesy, as well as in boldness and generosity, that he had above all men, and that his name would never perish in the German tongue, and the same was true with the Norsemen. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.